This episode's brought to you by Red Cape Films.
Alright, we need Bird on set! In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and action!
Hey everyone, welcome back to yet another episode of Red Cape Sports. My name is Bird Bouchard, so excited to be back from vacation. It was so much fun. Anyway, in this episode, I got top 5 tips for investing in sports cards. Alright everyone, so before I jump into my top 5 tips when it comes to investing in sports cards, please do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps us out. And especially, make sure to smash that like button. Kicking it off with tip number 1. Tip number 1 is to only invest into young, established players. Now what I mean by that is someone like, let's say, Luka Doncic. He's now in his second year, and honestly, he's probably a top 3, maybe even top 5 NBA MVP candidate. Luka is a stud, and I think that we can all admit that. Another good example would be a guy like Devin Booker. Devin Booker's been in the league a couple years, and he's averaging about 27 points a game. If you want to switch into sports, a guy like Connor McDavid, Austin Matthews, even another sport, a guy like Christian McCaffrey. Or, if you want to switch into baseball, a guy like Ronald Acuna. And that brings me to tip number 2, which completely contradicts tip number 1. That being, it doesn't exactly matter how young or even old a player is who you want to invest in. If a player's never won an NBA championship, an NHL championship, or really a championship, regardless of the sport, that's also a very good investment opportunity. That's also a really good investment opportunity. A player such as Joe Thornton, who's actually never won a Stanley Cup, you can certainly bet if he were to win one, his card prices would definitely go up. A player like Austin Matthews, the Toronto Maple Leafs have never won a Stanley Cup since 1967. That's a really long time, and especially an established player in the league right now like Austin Matthews, finally bringing home a cup for the faithful of the Toronto fans, you can certainly bet his Young Guns card would go up by a lot of money. And of course, we even saw it with Justin Verlander. Time for tip number 3. Tip number 3 is probably the ultimate tip that I have for you all today, so please take notes, at least mental notes. Tip number 3 is only invest in rookies. We're gonna put that up big on the screen right now because it's so important. I know if a card looks great, it looks so delightful and you just want to buy it, but honestly, a player's 3rd or even 7th year card, it's just not going to be worth a lot. Rookie cards are exactly what investors look to buy. Rookie cards are amazing. So if you're looking into NHL cards for say, what you're going to be wanting to buy is only Young Gun cards. Young Guns are the cards to get, especially Young Guns exclusives if you can find them. That's absolutely what you're going to want to buy, especially when you're just starting off because most of those cards are actually affordable. Let's say baseball. If you're investing into baseball, what I personally recommend is one of 2 brands. However, personally, I do give the slight edge to Bowman First opposed to Topps Chrome, but either of those are more than fine. Tip number 4, I really can't give enough credit to. You need to research, and then when you're done that, you need to research even more. In this hobby, it's so important. I'm sure as most of you know, when you're first and when you're on that bandwagon before a player gets hyped up huge, you can really do well for yourself. I remember a few years back, a player like Jeremy Lin. Not too many people knew who he was, and of course his card didn't go, anabolic or anything like that. However, his card did go up a lot, and at one point you could buy it for as little as 75 cents. So you definitely want to do your research. Mitch and I, we always look at MLB Pipeline, different things like that, because baseball players, the young prospects, I'm talking about Wander Franco, Fernando Tatis, these are players who, if you know any single thing about sports, or especially baseball, you know who they are, but to the average sports collector, you really don't know who they are until about their 2nd or 3rd year. So remember, research. Tip number 5, you gotta get into really good condition when investing in sports cards. No, obviously not myself personally, but rather the card itself. So let's say you hop on eBay, make sure to, number 1, check the description. A lot of times people will just take terrible photos. So if the photo's bad, even if the price is good, as they tend to say, it is too good to be true. So you always want to make sure that the condition of the card is good. What's a good way of combating this, Bird? Well, PSA and BGS. Honestly, Mint is a phenomenal company. They're a local company, up-and-coming grading company. But Mitch and I personally, we only like to typically, and that means typically, so if the price is good, of course, go for it. I know Mitch has with Ronald Acuna Jr., but for the most part, try to buy graded cards. So if it's PSA, obviously you're looking for a 10 or a 9, nothing else. It's just a waste of money, anything below a 9. As well for BGS, of course you want a 10, but basically 9.5 is the way to go for BGS. It just helps, you know, sending off to BGS or even PSA, it's a lot of hassle, a lot of money, so save yourself all the stress, all the money, and just buy them graded already. You know exactly what you're getting. Well folks, I lied because I actually have a bonus tip. So tip number 6 is to go in and visit your local sports card shop. Mitch and I love to visit our sponsor, Frank, over at F&C House of Cards. The reason why we like to do this, obviously Frank's a great guy, but there's something about feeling the card in your hands, inspecting it, right? You can honestly see how the card looks, and you can actually see any kind of manufacturer defects. And honestly, the owners typically, they come with a lot of knowledge themselves. So maybe you've never heard of a player, but they have, so they can provide you with a lot of great insight. And most importantly, you can also save on shipping costs, which is absolutely huge in this industry. And of course, you're gonna help your local economy. So there you have it, folks. That's 5 plus 1 bonus tips when it comes to investing in sports cards.